Today we're going to present Sears Roebuck and Walmart store. And the presenters are Dongyang Feng, Bojie Li, Yujia Lu, and Bo Chaoliang. To begin this presentation, I'd like to give you a brief summary about the case. This case is a classic side-by-side analysis of two companies in the same industry, which is retailing. One of the major differences is the retailing strategy of Sears and Walmart. Strategic decisions can be crucial to attract consumers and drive sales. And the Sears focuses more on its product mix, whereas Walmart focuses more with competitive price. To go in depth to the case provides a lot of financial statements and company reports to help the readers to get to know differences between two companies. First, let's talk about strategies. So how do the retailing strategies of Sears and Walmart differ? In this case analysis, Sears focuses on products more than other components. Sears pay extremely amount of attention on product mix to appeal a targeted audience, which is middle-class female shoppers. Although this might seem limiting consumers, it is very effective in terms of creating loyalty to the brand. In addition, Sears also creates their own credit card so that consumers have more flexibility to pay for merchandise gradually over time. This is a great way to grant more revenues as well as using the pain of paying theory. As a result, consumers buy more goods and the company gain more through finance. Second, Walmart. The Walmart store choose another different component, which is pricing. They come up slogans to have the lowest price for all the goods they sell in the market. Their goal is to make all goods affordable, which appeals to a large range of consumers. This strategic tactics makes Walmart extremely competitive against other companies within the industry.
I'm going to talk about the factors affecting performance of two companies, Sears and Walmart, during the fiscal year of 1997. The two companies experienced some financial challenges prior to 1997, and for the Sears, it reoriented the product mix at Sears stores in an attempt to boost sales by appealing to a target audience of middle-class female shoppers. And the slogan "Come and see the softer side of Sears" reflected the company's commitment to updating its merchandise selection. And also, additionally, Sears operates using a strategy that depends on short-term debits and credit. This makes its financing unstable compared to Walmart, which sticks to high equity as the primary funding method. Sears figured out that offering customers more flexibility to pay for merchandise gradually over time through the company's credit card. And the credit card was issued by Sears and only can be used in its own store. Comparing to Sears, Walmart customers could obtain a MasterCard with the company's logo on it, and the card was issued by Chase Manhattan Bank, which completely avoid the risk of user either making late payments or failing to pay off a balance altogether. And unlike Sears, Walmart didn't have its own credit card. And for Sears, more than 50% of Sears sales are conducted by the use of credit cards, and this makes the accounts to be receivable. In this scenario, the company may be making a profit, but this may fail if the firm does not collect those debts back, and those debts become bad debts, and it's going to greatly influence the operation of the entire company. And those factors lead to the performance of these companies during the fiscal year of 1997.
Since different businesses have various scopes, we cannot just merely compare the number of revenue or profit the companies earn. So here we should introduce some concepts of financial ratios into analysis. To begin with, the profit margin is a percentage measurement of profit that expresses the amount of company earned per dollar of sales. If a company makes more money per sale, it has a higher profit margin. In short, the higher the number, the more efficient management is in generating profit for every dollar of cost involved. There are two types of profit margin approaches, which are the gross profit margin and the net income profit margin. We are using the net profit margin in analyzing, since this one more accurately gives us the proof of profitability. Because higher revenue doesn't mean higher profit, we should minus every dollar expense from the revenue to see how much of each dollar collected by a company translates to profit. For example, the income statement of Sears shows that they generated 41 billion as revenue and 1.18 billion as profit. So we just divide the income by the revenue and get 2.9% of net profit margin, which means for every dollar Sears collected, 2.9% of dollar is accounted for the profit. On the other side, Walmart generated 3% net profit margin, which is slightly better in this scenario. Another important ratio we apply here is ROE, return on equity. Because shareholders' equity is equal to a company's asset minus its debt, ROE is considered the return on net asset. Unlike the profit margin, ROE is considered a measure of how effectively management is in using a company's asset to create profits. When we find numbers on the balance sheet and income statement, we get in net income of 1.18 billion and average shareholders' equity of 5.4 billion for Sears. Then we yield nearly 22% of ROE for Sears, which was a better performance compared to the 20% of ROE Walmart yielded in the same year. Though ROE may provide us with informative evidence, unfortunately we cannot apply this ratio here since the two firms apply different strategies. The solvency ratios, which are the measurements of risk the companies are facing. Current ratio and debt to equity ratio are the two we want to illustrate something here. The current ratio compares assets that are cash within a year and liabilities that will be paid within a year. In short, it exposes the short-term risk a firm may encounter. Contrary to the current ratio, the debt to equity ratio mainly focuses on the long-term default risk of a firm. It is calculated as the total liabilities over total shareholders' equity. For a current ratio, the higher the better, for there are more assets covering the debt. For DE ratio, the less the better, for showing the low leverage risk the shareholders are facing, or they may pull out the money from the highly risky investment. Again, Sears provides us the numbers of current assets and current liabilities were 30 billion and 15.7 billion respectively in 1997, which yielded 1.94 for current ratio, and it performed slightly higher than the Walmart's 1.34. However, the D ratio for Sears spiked to 5.6 and was nearly 5 times that of Walmart in 1997. Such high DE ratio unveils the risky nature of Sears, providing the evidence for less competence against Walmart years later.
So another kind of ratio is efficiency ratio. It's specifically inventory turnover, and it's calculated by sales divided by average inventory. And in this case, we use cost of goods sold instead, because sales include a markup over cost. So it's probably a better way. This ratio measures how fast a company sells inventory, and a low inventory turnover often implies weak sales or possibly overstocking. So for Sears, the cost of sales, buying, and occupancy is $26.7 billion. For Walmart, it's $93.4 billion. For average inventory, is $4.8 billion for Sears and $16 billion for Walmart. And we also got the inventory turnover for 5.53 versus 5.77. Walmart performed better. Also, because the number we got in the graph is for Sears is cost of sales, buying, and occupancy. So actually for cost of sales is less than $26.7 billion. So which means that the actual inventory turnover ratio for Sears should be less than 5.53. So overall, when we try to use financial ratios to assess a company's performance, we found out that for Sears, it performs better based on ROE and current ratio. As we've discussed earlier, the ROE ratio is not effective. And also for current ratio, because of the Sears credit card, so over 2/3 of the current assets for Sears is actually credit card receivable. Therefore, the current ratio may also not be that useful in assessing Sears' performance.
So to sum up, after the evaluation from various angles, Walmart outperformed Sears. Thank you for listening.